Mr. Speaker, the people and the communities that I mentioned are how I got here, but they're not the full answer for why I fought to be here and why the people of York Durham have sent me here. I think there are at least 3 reasons that the people sent me here, Mr. Speaker. First, homes. The people sent me here because there is a sense among my generation that they will never get ahead, that no matter how hard they work, how much they save, how diligent they budget, let me just say that again for my colleagues on the other side, Mr. Speaker, how diligent they budget, we're still waiting for that from the other side, they will never own a home. And the dream of home ownership slipping away is creating depression and dejection amongst my generation. I want to share 2 stories from that, Mr. Speaker. One from a working couple in Uxbridge whose door I knocked on. Both had jobs, both had well-paying jobs, and they had a young family. And they said, you know, we're doing okay, but we are just scraping by. I don't know what else we could be doing. We both work full jobs and try to manage our family. Second, Mr. Speaker, I received a message just earlier this week from a fellow millennial like myself who lives in Keswick. And she is being evicted from her home and lamented to me that she has nowhere to go. And she said to me, you know, I shouldn't have to leave the town that I grew up in because we can't get enough homes that are affordable, built for someone like me who earns a good salary. I agree, Mr. Speaker. The government's throne speech talks about building homes. It says that a new government agency will save us, that prefabricated and modular homes are the answer. I refuse to live in a shipping container, Mr. Speaker. I refuse to live in a communist-style tenement built by Brookfield Homes.
Hear, hear.
I demand for my generation the same opportunities that my parents had before me. Mr. Speaker, the second reason I think people sent me here is crime. Crime on our streets, in our neighborhoods. People feel unsafe. My residents don't want to have to be told to park your car in the garage or purchase military-style bollards so that their car doesn't get stolen. And my residents want drugs and gangs off their streets. Just this week in Georgina, Mr. Speaker, the York Regional Police busted a drug ring through Project Madriga. And I want to thank the York Regional Police for their diligent work there in getting fentanyl, cocaine, meth, and opioids and illegal firearms off the streets. The speech from the throne says the government will bring forward a renewed focus on this issue by making bail harder to get. I hope they do, Mr. Speaker, and we will be watching. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, the people sent me here because Canada is in economic decline. They are worried about our relationship with the United States and Canada's place in the world. And the data on this is not really in dispute. Growth is anemic, purchasing power is down, Canadians are poorer than they were before. And the antidote, Mr. Speaker, at least in my estimation, is pretty straightforward. Remove taxes, remove the laws, remove the regulations that stand in the way of Canadians making a better life for themselves. And on trade, Mr. Speaker, this is something I hope to contribute to positively. It's something I know pretty well, having spent nearly 10 years practicing international trade with some of the best in the business. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my former partners, Matthew Crombie and Jesse Goldman at Osler, for teaching me everything I know. And my offer to the government on this is, I will be a resource for you. If you want to know what we're thinking on these issues, let's talk. Mr. Speaker, Canada's place in the world has been diminished because our armed forces lack the tools they need. The government says it will rebuild and rearm the Canadian forces, and I hope that's true, but we will see. My family has a proud military tradition. My grandfather served the Royal Canadian Air Force, attached to the RAF as a navigator during the Second World War, including on D-Day. That tradition has been continued by my brother, who is a current serving member. And I want to share my experience in visiting him on a public event at his base. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, while all the people on that base were excellent, professionals, well-trained, this government has failed to equip them properly, Mr. Speaker. As I walked into the hangar, water fell from the ceiling into a garbage can because the roof was leaking. As we waited for rides in a military aircraft, we had to wait longer, Mr. Speaker, because it broke down. While the military was prepared, even the spare broke down, Mr. Speaker, And lastly, rides in the military vehicles had to stop because it blew a gasket and spread oil all over the parking lot. The state of the tools that we give our men and women in armed forces is unacceptable, and that is something I will continue to raise in this House. Mr. Speaker, I point out these things not just because we are in opposition, but because we want things to get better. Our message is fundamentally hopeful. I am here because I'm hopeful for Canada's future, and if the government moves to address these and other issues, they will have my support. Mr. Speaker, I will end by asking for wisdom from heaven for this place and for all members in this House, because it is wisdom from heaven that is first of all pure, then peace-loving, confident, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Mr. Speaker, we are servants of the people, and no servant is greater than their master, and no messenger is greater than the one that sent them. And I pray that all members remember that in this House. God bless each member in this House, Mr. Speaker, and God bless Canada.
Questions and comments. Question et commentaire. The honourable member for Winnipeg North.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really took an interest when the members started to talk about the issue of crime and automobile theft. You know, in the province of Manitoba, back in around that 2005, 6, 7 era, we had the highest automobile theft in the country, by far. No province even came close to the province of Manitoba on a per capita basis. In fact, you could virtually double the number of vehicles that were being stolen. And what resolved the problem, it wasn't just Ottawa. It was the Manitoba Public Insurance, it was the provincial government, it was other stakeholders that actually came together, much like what happened recently last year in Ontario. And we have seen numbers go down. The question I have for the member is, would he not recognize that on that particular issue, it's not just the federal government. In fact, many would argue in the province of Manitoba, it was the provincial and MPI that made the difference. That it's not just one level of government that resolves that particular problem. Would he not agree?
Yeah, I'm a member for York Durham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad the member brought up cooperation. We are in a minority parliament, and I hope that the government will work to cooperate with us on issues that matter to Canadians. Crime is one of them, Mr. Speaker. And I hope on that issue we can collaborate on bail reform, because we know the people who are stealing cars, trafficking drugs, trafficking firearms are going through a revolving door of bail. And he talked about cooperation. Well, the province of Ontario has asked and demanded for bail reform, and this government has refused to give it. So where's the cooperation?
Question et commentaire. L'honorable député de...
The honourable member for Beauharnois. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his speech. In the previous Parliament, the House adopted Bill C-21, one of whose goals was to control the use of weapons. But since that legislation was adopted, we've been waiting for regulation. And the government was supposed to introduce that regulation. Is my colleague concerned about safety under these circumstances? Does he find it troubling that the regulations for such an important piece of legislation have not yet been introduced?
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for the question, and I apologize that I must answer in English, but I commit to the House to learn as much French as quickly as I can, as fast as possible. Mr. Speaker, on this issue, what I'm concerned about is the government's lack of priorities. They are focused on attacking law-abiding firearms owners instead of going after criminals and the criminal trafficking of guns across the border. I hope that this government focuses on that priority rather than law-abiding firearms owners.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Bruce Grey, Owen Sound.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. First off, I'd like to congratulate my colleague on his being elected to this august chamber. Secondly, I'd like to thank him for his family service in our Canadian Armed Forces, in particular his brother that's still serving. My question is about housing. I'm just wondering if he's heard from any of the affordable housing organizations in his riding. I've just got emails from a community living project that was getting funding from CMHC that's now being told, despite Parliament having been prorogued and then dissolved in a new Parliament, that apparently all the money's spent already, despite this government announcing billions and billions of more deficit spending, and they're being told, sorry, wait out. So if housing's such a priority, I'm just wondering if he's hearing the same concerns about affordable housing projects in his community.
I'm a member for York Durham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my colleague for the question. I am hearing the same thing, and I think, Mr. Speaker, it's important in my riding to recognize that we are both urban and rural, and sometimes people think that homelessness and lack of housing is not a rural issue, Mr. Speaker, but it is. There are homeless people in rural ridings, and they have even fewer places to go, Mr. Speaker. And so I hope that this government is true and will do something on it. But I hope, Mr. Speaker, that it's something that will give people a dream of home ownership, not a dream that can't be attained.
Questions and comments, very brief, Madawaska Restigouche.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to congratulate my colleague on his election. He spoke of his family. On this side, we're taking concrete action to make lives easier for families, including a tax cut. We also want to support programs like dental care and pharmacare, among others. These are programs the Conservatives are opposed to.
Durham.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we will always support tax cuts, even if they don't go far enough and don't give enough relief, Mr. Speaker. And I invite the member to come to my riding and walk down streets with me and see how tough it is. So I applaud them for the tax cut. Let's see more of it.